Absolutely, but let me begin by saying thank you to you, Dean. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir, for inviting us here. Thank you, Georgetown, for providing such a terrific forum over the last couple of days. Thank you to Adrian, who was with us last night. And I really want to thank my fellow foreign ministers here, Isabel, Ségolène, and who else do we have here somewhere? I thought we had someone. Ingrid. Third. Susanna. No, somewhere. Where's Susanna? She was here. I didn't see her, but I know Susanna was here. Anyway. And by the way, note, all women, folks. Could be a harbinger of things. No, I can't go there. I'm not allowed to go there. Let me answer the question, and thank you all for coming here. The answer is really very simple. I've been involved in this issue now since I was freshly returned from Vietnam, which is a long time ago now, way back in 1969-70, and I became involved in the first Earth Day. And through the years, as chairman of the Fisheries Subcommittee and as a participant in the various Conference of the Parties under the UN climate change efforts, and Ségolène is the president of COP21, which succeeded in doing the Paris Agreement. There has always been not a well-recognized, but for those involved in the issue, a clear, inescapable connection between climate change and oceans, between criminal activity, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking, gun running, and other things, criminal enterprise, which carries into the oceans in terms of illegal, unregulated, unreported fishing, which is strip mining the oceans and threatens to destroy an entire ecosystem. The connection, obviously, of acidification, the increased carbon dioxide, greenhouse gas emissions come back, fall in the ocean, and so we see massive amount of black carbon in the Arctic, which increases the melting of the ice, increased acidification, which is 25 times what it was 50 million years ago, and we don't know the consequences completely, except that we do know that crustaceans are affected by the increased pH, the increased acidity of the ocean, and that can threaten the life cycle. We have almost 50% of the planet dependent on food from the ocean, on protein. We have 12% of the world's workforce depends on the oceans for their livelihood, for their work. And that's without even getting too far downstream in terms of the economic food chain. So when you look at what is happening with the combination of pollution, just as an example, the farms we depend on for our food also produce enormous amount of nitrate. The nitrates flow from the Missouri into the Mississippi down through the Delta, and we have a huge several hundred-mile dead zone at the mouth of the Mississippi where nothing lives, nothing will grow, nothing survives. We now have more than 500 dead zones around the planet. So when you add up the level of illegal fishing, the destructive force that has, there's human trafficking is a modern form of slavery. And there was a story I remember reading this last year, which really affected me, in the New York Times front page story of a young Cambodian boy who was lured to Thailand with the promise of a job. He wanted the job. He went to Thailand. He was kidnapped and put on a vessel, a shackle around his neck for 2 years, fishing illegally in order to provide for the illegal product that would come into a port and be illegally sold. So we're doing things about that. When we started this Our Ocean conference 2 years ago, only 10 countries in the world had signed on to the port state measures, and you needed 25 countries in order to make it law. Now today, as we come here again for this session, we have 60 countries have signed up to the port state measure. And so the short answer to your question is caring about the oceans, understanding the connection of the oceans and what we do with plastic and pollution and overfishing and climate and energy policy is absolutely a security issue for every country in the world. If we don't pay attention to it, we will magnify the degree to which we're already going to experience climate refugees, massive problems and challenges to food security as things that grow in one place today don't grow there anymore, or as the fish that people rely on for protein disappears. So this is life and death. This is national security. It is international security. And if we're going to respond to the challenges globally, we have to care about the oceans, and we have to understand the linkage to science and the linkage to climate change. It's that simple.